Why is it taking so long to finalize this when it was introduced 2 years ago? And 2 years later, they still haven't been finalized. So the question is, when will those consultations be finished so that these lifestyle audits can then be published in line with the commitment that both you and the President have made in different forums? You made it so in the budget debate for the DPME, and the President did so on 2 consecutive State of the Nation addresses. Thanks, Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
We are committed to these lifestyle audits, but as you will know, it will be the first time in the history of democratic South Africa that members of the national executive are subjected to such audits. And therefore, it was very, very important that everybody is taken on board so that whatever you do does not contrast with the rights that all South Africans enjoy, including members of this executive. That's why the necessity for consultation, that's why the necessity for a framework that all of us should agree on. But we can assure you, you are right. Minister Mkhunu did speak to life audits and instruments that are already in place for the administration. And we can assure you, and in fact you can speak to that, that by March next year, we should be concluding on these matters of life audits for the administration. So a lot has been done as it relates to the administration. Indeed, a lot is being done as it relates to the executive, as I have said. So the mere fact that we have already done a lot in the administration to enforce lifestyle audits, it shows our benefits of taking forward this matter of lifestyle audits. We have a framework which we have produced. We have a framework that we are consulting on, and we are quite certain that long before Minister Mkhunu concludes the lifestyle audits in March 2021, we would have started at the level of the executive. We are very confident of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next supplementary question is to be asked by the Honourable Malomane. The member is on the virtual platform.
Sorry, Chair, I'm in a chamber.
Please proceed, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Chair. My question will be, may the Minister in the President kindly indicate, sorry, when the draft lifestyle audit framework will be finalized and how long the process will take going further. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, colleagues. As indicated, our commitment to introduce lifestyle audits for members of the executive will be concluded long before the end of this financial year. The end of this financial year is March. As I have already indicated to Honourable Malatsi, Minister Mkhunu will be concluding the lifestyle audits as it relates to members of the administration, the entire administration by 2021 March. The executive would have concluded on the consultation of the framework by then, and we are quite certain that the President will also have taken the country into his confidence on how are we taking the process forward after concluding the consultations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I now recognize the Honourable Sheikh Imam. I'm sure he's on the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and thank you, Minister, for your response. I think what you're not telling us, Minister, but before I tell you what you're not telling us, let me say this, that you will appreciate and understand we have a serious challenge in the country in terms of the high levels of corruption and things, and the mechanisms that you got in place at the moment are entirely inadequate. Can you tell us what exactly is the reason why it takes you 3 years to have to implement this? What was the problem? What were the challenges that you were facing and that it had to take so long for you to actually have them implemented?
The Honourable Minister.
Sheikh Imam, Honourable Sheikh Imam, we have indicated that members of the executive, notwithstanding the non-availability of lifestyle audits as we speak, they are enjoined by our constitution and the laws of the country to declare all their financial interests, which we do. Every year on an annual basis, we do declare, because the members' executive ethics code enjoins us to do so. So the absence of the lifestyle audits does not take away that members of the executive must be ethical and they must act ethically all the time. And this is what we have done in this executive. And we will continue to do so. In addition, we are introducing the lifestyle audits at the level of the executive, something that has not been done in the country, by the way. It's the first time in 26 years that this is being introduced. Of course, we are doing so because the governing party, the glorious African National Congress, in its conferences, said we must do so. Because, again, all of us, we agree with you, Sheikh Imam, all of us must do everything we can to avoid corruption and to deal with corruption. We believe that some of the tools that we could use to suppress corrupt activities and corruption is through lifestyle audits. And therefore, we are still committed. Yes, colleagues will also know that we needed to consult broadly. Colleagues will also know that we have also had in South Africa something called COVID-19 that made consultations a little bit difficult.
Honourable Minister, your time is now expired.
Thank you very much.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ntlangwini. She's on the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, your government have been threatening lifestyle audits for almost decades now, and this have not happened yet. We know now it will never happen, at least not at the level where senior politicians like yourself will be threatened. Many of your colleagues have farms and businesses run by their proxies and uses their government connections to enrich themselves and their families. Do you think it's possible for ministers and other leaders of the ANC to open about their sources, about their wealth, if their own president, who have uses the court to hide those that have funded his campaign to become a president? How must South Africans know whether or not those who have funded the president are not beneficiaries of government contracts? If this is so, do you still warrant that lifestyle audits must happen at the highest level of government, starting from your president? Thank you very much.
The Honourable Minister.
I don't know whether this colleague has capacity to listen. We are busy with lifestyle audits framework as we speak.
I have capacity to listen. On a point of order, Chair. On a point of order, Chair. I will not be disrespected like that by that man.
Honourable Member.
I will not be disrespected like that.
You have asked a question.
I'm not hearing in head, and he must withdraw that.
I'm not going to go into dialogue with you. Let's allow the Honourable Minister to respond. The Honourable Minister.
He must withdraw that.
Honourable Member, if you continue doing what you're doing, I'll ask the Sergeant of Arms to remove you from the platform. Honourable Minister, let us also not...
Chairperson.
Honourable Member, I'm busy with the Minister. I'm directing a response to the Minister. Honourable Minister, let us not reflect on the capacity or not of honorable members whether they can listen or not. Please just withdraw that remark.
I withdraw.
Thank you.
Chair. Chair, Chair, the governing party, in its conference of 2017 at Nazareth, made this call that all of us, particularly who are public representatives, must also be subjected to these things called lifestyle audits. And we are all in agreement. Therefore, it can't be decades. It can't be. From 2017 to 2030, 2020 is 3 years. A decade is 10 years. Now, having said that, Chair, let's just correct the colleagues that we are all, as members of the executive, led by the President of the Republic of South Africa, committed to lifestyle audits. That's why we are busy now consulting on the lifestyle audit framework. No question about it. No question about it. We are going to do it before March next year. Indeed, we would have had members of the executive of the Republic of South Africa having been consulted, having consulted with other people on this matter. We would have the implementation of lifestyle audits at the level of the executive. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, question number 431 has been asked by the Honourable Mkalipi to the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. I've been informed that the Deputy Minister will be answering questions on behalf of the Minister. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. In relation to the question about the number of municipalities that have been placed under Section 139 of the Constitution, we currently have 29 municipalities that have been subjected to interventions in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution. In this regard, we have in the provinces various municipalities, and I'll go through the various provinces to indicate where Section 139 has been implemented. KwaZulu-Natal has 9 Section 139 interventions, followed by Mpumalanga, which also has 9, Northwest 5, Free State, no, maybe I'm causing, let me just correct it here. 5 Northwest, Free State 4, 3 Gauteng, 3 Northern Cape, 2 Eastern Cape, 1 Limpopo, and 1 in the Western Cape. And I think it's important to emphasize that we're talking about the different subsections of Section 139 of the Constitution. So it is not always the same intervention that has been invoked. With regards to the challenges faced by administrators, it is important to reflect on some of the challenges also in relation to our direct experience, but also on the basis of the reports that we have received from various administrators. In this regard, some of the administrators have faced problems in implementation, particularly with regards to inconsistencies in the application of Section 139. Other administrators, the challenges that we have observed relate to inadequate reporting and monitoring systems. Further to this, some interventions are reliant on one individual to solve systemic and structural challenges that have been there for a long time. So in essence, what tends to happen is that one individual is sent to try and resolve major institutional problems in municipalities. In order to address these challenges, we are working on the Intergovernmental Monitoring, Support and Interventions Bill, which will articulate how interventions should be addressed. Secondly, we have established a task team with our colleagues in National Treasury to develop a joint approach on how to effectively support municipalities under intervention and how to respond to some of the challenges encountered during implementation. This joint approach will be implemented in collaboration with the provinces. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The first follow-up question will go to the Honourable Mkalipi.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, all of these things that you are mentioning is happening and is not helping at all. But nevertheless, Deputy Minister, let me just pose a question to you. Is it true, Deputy Minister, that many of these municipalities where administrators have failed to turn around is because the administrators go in and they start allocating tenders to their friends, and this continue to make the situation worse of the municipalities. They do not go there to stabilize and build internal capacity. While corruption is part of the problem, outsourcing is also part of the problem, Deputy Minister. Lack of municipal capacity to deliver basic services is part of the problem. Substitution of highly qualified municipal workers with temporary EPWP workers who got exploited is a problem. We have seen this in all municipalities under administration in Northwest and in the city of Tshwane. Deputy Minister, should you too think that if we stop outsourcing of basic services such as road and water infrastructure, maintenance, grass cutting, town cleaning and security guards, and build internal capacity in municipality, things will improve and our people will have jobs that are permanent? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and thank you to the Honourable Mkhaliphi. I think that we cannot conclusively stand here and say that the reason for failure to succeed in implementing 139 interventions is as a result of supply chain management processes. In fact, we do not have a report that is consolidated that suggests that the challenges that have been identified are as a result of such failures. I should say various studies have been undertaken, including an independent study by the Public Affairs Rights Institute to determine what the challenges are with regard to the implementation of Section 139, and this has not translated into what is offered by Honourable Mkhaliphi as having been the reasons. Do we have problems with regards to certain elements of implementation? Certainly we do. It is thus that I indicated that we are working with National Treasury, not just on a legislative solution, but also in relation to direct interface with provinces and municipalities to deal with the challenges in implementing Section 139. Outsourcing, I think that the model chosen to implement various services should be objectively considered in relation to the particular service that's being provided. Is there room in certain instances for insourcing? There certainly is. Is there room in certain instances for outsourcing? Certainly there is. So I think that the application cannot be uniform but should be circumstantial. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Brink.
Thanks very much. Deputy Minister, Section 139 of the Constitution requires national legislation to be passed by Parliament dealing with the intervention of government in dysfunctional municipalities. But 26 years after the Constitution was passed in this chamber, we don't yet have such intervention legislation. So what you get is, in some provinces, a hands-off approach is followed when municipalities collapse, such as in the case of Makana in the Eastern Cape. In other instances, provinces abuse the powers that they have for political purposes outside of the Constitution in order to intervene, such as the case of Tshwane, where we recently had the Gauteng provincial government smacked down. So an intervention bill or an intervention law detailing what should be done could help prevent Tshwane-like abuse of power.
Honourable Member, what is the question?
And Makana-like negligence. My question is, when will such an intervention bill be brought to Parliament? Thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair, and thank you very much, Honourable Brink. I think that in my initial response, I indicated that the intergovernmental monitoring support and interventions bill has been drafted and is going through various processes of consultation. As to when it would come to Parliament would be subject to those processes. I should indicate that we have prioritized as a department this bill because it would enable the addressing of challenges such as inconsistencies in the application of various sections of the Section 139 of the Constitution. I don't think that we should always deal with political posturing when we're dealing with such matters. So in as much as you can refer to Tshwane, I can refer to instances where a municipality has written to us about the conduct of the Western Cape provincial government with regards to intervention, including recordings that have gone out publicly dealing with the collusion between an MEC in the province with a caucus of a municipality to facilitate, in fact, a process of 139 intervention. So you can deal with those allegations. As a department, our view is to have an objective assessment of the implementation and to determine whether this is appropriate or inappropriate, and on the basis of that, support the province appropriately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ngwezi, who's on the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Deputy Minister, and Honourable Members. The Portfolio Committee of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs on the 28th of July 2020 received a briefing by the department that most of the municipalities which has interventions, instead of improving, they were actually, some of them, deteriorating. And I would like to actually understand that the department actually realized that they needed to take over the national government. And I would like to get the latest progress on the interventions thereof. What is the latest progress on the implementation of Section 139? And how many municipalities across the country might possibly require the national executive to intervene in terms of Section 1397 due to failure of the provincial executive to do so? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair and Honourable Ngwezi. Let me indicate that our view as a department with regards to the application of Section 1397 is that all of us should be circumspect in invoking Section 1397 until such time that we have collectively established that there is a direct failure, inability to, or reluctance to implement an intervention by provincial government. It would be inappropriate for national government to sit and say, well, we are now going to intervene in all instances, therefore we are overtaking provincial governments in undertaking their executive obligations. Our starting point should be to support the provinces to undertake their Section 139 obligations and also their executive obligations in terms of oversight in municipalities. It should be under exceptional circumstances that national government invokes Section 1397 and directly intervenes. That is the view and approach that we've taken. And I would wish to suggest that all of us should focus on providing support to provincial governments to undertake their primary mandate in relation to local government. Thank you very much.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable I.M. Groenewald through the virtual platform. The Honourable Groenewald.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Honourable Deputy Minister, due to the Section 100 interventions in North West, there is little to no accountability and oversight with regards to municipalities in the province which are currently under Section 139 intervention. The administrator does not account, and thus the legislature has no oversight of these municipalities. What will the National Department do to ensure effective Section 139 interventions given the provincial administration? And when will there be a report to the National Assembly on the Section 100 intervention? Or was the intervention only employed to stabilise ANC infighting and abuse of government's power? Thank you, Honourable House Chair.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
The Section 100 intervention in the Northwest Province is under constant review by national government, and we continuously are evaluating various elements of implementation of the Section 100 intervention in not just the Department of Cooperative Governance, but in all of government. And you would know that Minister Dlamini Zuma has been designated to continue championing the implementation of Section 100 in the Northwest Province. And in this regard, a report is due to Cabinet to review the implementation to the extent of the departments that where we have seen progress and the departments who have not seen progress, so that decisions can be made in that regard. And in due course would be reported upon. As to the administrators in the municipalities, we have requested the MEC in the province to provide us with a comprehensive report, in particular with regards to closeout reports as a result of the decisions taken by the provincial executive in about July this year with regards to the municipalities under intervention. On the basis of those closeout reports, we would be able to make a determination of what to do in relation to those specific municipalities. May I hasten to say, Honorable House Chair, that some of these municipalities, Section 139(1)B, has been reinstated by the provincial government of the Northwest Province. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. We now move to question number 443 that has been asked by the Honourable B.M. Hadebe to the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair, and thank you to Honourable Hadebe for the questions that have been raised with regards to support for revenue initiatives in municipalities. The ESCOM political task team that is chaired by the Deputy President has established a multidisciplinary revenue committee, and our department is an active participant in this committee. The mandate of the committee is to support municipalities to address broader revenue management challenges within the revenue value chain of municipalities. These include, but is not limited to, addressing the debt owed to municipalities, and in fact, in the process, also the debt owed by municipalities. This project is aimed at better informing the setting of a proper tariff structure and ensuring that the tariffs in municipalities are cost reflective. Municipalities are also assisted with policy formulations in ensuring that they are credible and to prevent less disputes on implementation of policies. The department is leading a government-wide support to encourage municipal consumers at large to pay their outstanding debts through the Responsible Citizenry campaign that was launched earlier this month. And this is intended to educate customers about the benefits of paying for municipal services and also the services that are being provided by municipalities and how these are funded in the respective municipal spaces. Department of Cooperative Governance has previously assisted certain municipalities with simplified revenue plans, which looked at enhancing revenue collection by means of data cleaning, review of policies, meter auditing, and indigent management. COGTA has developed the South African Economic Recovery Plan for municipalities in relation to COVID-19 and is currently consulting sector experts to solicit their input with regard before finalization. The plan, amongst others, emphasizes the need to explore the potential of SMMEs to liberate the economic potential of regions and reinventing the value for local well-being. Various champions have been allocated by COGTA to work with municipalities, particularly with regards to establishing business development forums and the roles that these would take as partners in economic development. Furthermore, the department is working with the private sector and state-owned enterprises in supporting vulnerable municipalities by allowing such to identify the municipalities they wish to work with and support. An example of such partnership is Elundini local municipality and a partnership with PG Bison. PG Bison is providing the support and upskilling of the community in areas such as disaster management, small town revitalization, furniture manufacturing, skills transfer, and local economic development. Similar partnerships, without going into detail now, have been established between Santam, GIZ, and the Mandela Bay Chamber of Commerce to support the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro and the Sarah Parkman District. A similar partnership has also been established in the West Rand, in Rand West municipality in the West Rand province of Gauteng between the GIZ, Goldfields Mining Company, and the Mineral Council to intervene in facilitating local economic development. In our effort to support municipalities to collect revenue from organs of state that are disputing bills issued by municipalities, we have prepared a step-by-step guide to intergovernmental dispute and settlement as required by the Constitution and the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act. The terms of reference for appointment of facilitators have been prepared by the department, and such facilitators should be appointed in due course. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. I now recognize Honourable Gadebe on the virtual platform.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Sihlalo, ngiphinde ngibonge nakuwe Sekela Ngqongqoshe ngempendulo yakho. Deputy Minister, with reference to the Minister of COGTA developing South Africa Economic Recovery Plan for all municipalities in our country in response to COVID-19, can you share with us what are the timeframe attached to this process, and also if there are any further relevant detailed processes attached to this plan? Please share with us. Ngibonge kakhulu Sihlalo nakuwe Sekela Ngqongqoshe. Enkosi.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you once again, Honourable Hadebe, with an H. I'd like to say, Honourable Hadebe, that as you have correctly reflected, as a department, we worked on complementing the National Reconstruction and Recovery Plan by developing a local government-focused intervention in economic development. And a framework in this regard has been developed and is currently going through various levels of consultation, including with the critical partners in this regard and role players, which would be local government itself. And the plan looks at, amongst others, interventions with regards to social and solidarity economies in local government, facilitating labor-intensive infrastructure investment, introducing financing that is developmental for local government, taking into account the legislative provision that allows local government to go to market to be able to increase its capital expenditure, and looking at SMMEs and cooperatives as partners in the development of not just municipal services, but also in the development of local economies. The projects themselves are at different levels of implementation. At some point, Minister Patel reflected on the country developing a framework for social and solidarity economies, and it is within the context of this framework that we would be able to implement. That notwithstanding, we are continuing to develop a mechanism for local governments to implement social and solidarity economy interventions. But there are other projects such as financing infrastructure that are well underway and in fact ready for implementation. And this includes the private sector participation model in infrastructure investment and pool financing initiatives that are currently being undertaken jointly with the DBSA, the Ministry of Finance, and other stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mkalipi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, most of the rural municipalities in this country are simply not workable with the current funding model for municipalities. Most rural municipalities simply cannot generate revenue through rates as compared to metropolitan municipalities do. We heard Minister Mboweni opposing to the idea of restructuring the municipal funding model yesterday. Since municipalities are at the cold phase of service delivery, is there any consideration to perhaps reduce the number of provinces or even eliminate provinces altogether in order to redirect resources and attention to the local government level. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair and Honourable Mkalipi. In fact, there is currently a discussion between ourselves and National Treasury with regards to funding for local government and the future of financing local government in the country, including not just current revenue sources, but also alternative revenue sources. Various stakeholders, including the Finance and Fiscal Commission and SALGA, have made specific proposals that are under consideration with regards to how we should finance local government going forward, particularly in regard to municipalities that do not have an adequate tax base. But that is the subject of current discussions that are being undertaken between ourselves and Treasury in consultation with other stakeholders. Is there a discussion in this department around provincial boundaries, particularly the elimination of provinces completely or the reduction of provinces? As a department, we do not have that discussion underway. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ngwezi.
Siyathokoza sihlalo kakhulu sekela ngqongqoshe ngiyathokoza ngempendulo yakho ngoba bengizobuza ukuthi ninazo yini inhlelo zokulungisa ingqinamba ezibhekene nemikhandlu yakithi ikakhulukazi endaweni zasemakhaya kodwa ngiyabona ukuthi zikhona inhlelo futhi uyayichaza kodwa ngibona ngazathi uhlelo lwenu ikakhulukazi lufocuse endaweni ezisemadolobheni kanti inkinga enkulu ebhekene nomasipala indawo la kunomasipala khona basendaweni zasemakhaya manje ngifisa ukwazi ukuthi mhlambe singabona nini uhulumeni uhlasela ngempela inkinga ezibhekene nomasipala ukuze omasipala bakwazi ukuthi bazenzele imali bona uqobo bakwazi ukusheshe bafinyelelise nezidingo kubantu singabona nini niqala ukuhlasela futhi mhlambe by when can we actually expect the results of such initiatives because abantu bakithi bajahe intuthuko endaweni zasemakhaya ngiyathokoza.
Thank you. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, House Chair and Honourable Ngwezi. Let me say that interventions are currently underway in line with the district development model to intervene in all municipalities with a specific bias, in fact, to rural municipalities. You would know that in terms of the pilot initiatives that we've undertaken, a specific focus was on those municipalities that had rural characteristics, amongst others in the Waterberg district and in OR Tambo district, because we're conscious of the fact that our intervention should support municipalities that have lesser capacity. With regards to eThekwini, one of the conscious decisions that said we must go to eThekwini as a pilot is because it is a metropolitan municipality that has vast tracts of rural land and land under traditional authorities that present a different set of challenges with regards to urban-based municipalities with particular rural characteristics in their outskirts. So in essence, I'm saying that implementation is currently underway in terms of the district development model and would continue to see the results as they are implemented. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Swart.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy Minister, arising from your response, according to the 2018-2019 Municipal Audit Report by the Auditor General, only 20 out of 257 municipalities received a clean audit, and 31% of municipalities are in a vulnerable financial position. The problem to a large extent is not so much a lack of revenue generation or local economic development programs, but a failure to hold to account senior leaders in municipalities who've been complicit in fraud, corruption, wasteful and irregular expenditure. What steps, Honourable Deputy Minister, has your department or yourself or the Minister taken to enforce consequence management to ensure that revenue generated at local government is not squandered, looted or stolen by having, quote, the wrong people with their hands at the till, according to the Auditor General's report itself? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair and Honourable Swart. I think we are all cognizant of the outcomes of the consolidated report from the Auditor General and the picture it paints with regards to control, environment in local government, accountability, and generally issues in relation to asset management and supply chain management in particular. In this report, a number of areas have been identified are intended to facilitate without the auditors taking over the responsibility of the municipality, rather a mechanism through which it would enable us to facilitate better support to municipalities. Have we taken action with regards to accountability in municipalities? In certain instances, when provinces are not intervening timeously, we have gone to the provinces and said, there are these specific problems in this municipality, and we need you to report on the basis of your intervention what you are doing, whether it's in relation to support and or an intervention would require a report. I do, however, repeat a point that I raised earlier. Our approach remains that of providing support to the provinces to undertake their executive obligations to oversee the work of local government before we come in directly as a national department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable members, we now go to question number 430 that has been asked by the Honourable Nchaisa to the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Very true. Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair, Honourable Nchaisa, for the question with regards to the issue of the Harry Gwala district and the interventions with regards to Matatiele in particular. Now, as part of the Minister's role in providing leadership, guidance, and oversight to local government, various engagements have taken place regarding this matter of the constitutional amendments in relation to the location of Matatiele. The Minister has a role to facilitate a political and administrative process that would enable an outcome on this matter. And I should say that we are not there yet. We are not at the point where we are dealing with the final outcome. But the outcome would be part of a process that we collectively have to undertake both as government and parliament. However, it is important to note that the Department of Cooperative Governance has engaged with the Department of Justice and Correctional Services on this matter, where a process of compliance in terms of Section 74(5) of the Constitution, which was initiated. And this process led to consultations, amongst others, with the provinces, the province of KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape as required by law. And the respective provinces have concluded on their respective views in this regard. The Minister of Justice and Correctional Services has also requested views from all the other provinces with regards to particular proposals for constitutional amendments of provincial boundaries. And that process should be resuscitated jointly between ourselves and the Department of Justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The Honourable Nchaisa will ask the first supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. I've got a very sharp pain at the back here. Perhaps it's because you are dealing with a very strong young Deputy Minister today. Deputy Minister, I thought perhaps this question now would be answered by Minister Dlamini, because she's the one that had a meeting with us as AIC. I'm not suggesting that you have got no capacity. I'm saying that you're very strong. But as a follow-up question, I'll just touch on two issues here. The issue of the referendum that was conducted by the late Minister Statement and the coalition that we are having with you. Late Statement conducted a referendum testing the views of the people of Matatiele. And going around now the voting stations, it was found that more than 69% were in favor of being incorporated into Matatiele, rather into KwaZulu-Natal. That never happened, and the results were not released. I would like to know why these results or the report were not released by the department, having wasted the taxpayers' monies. 2, Deputy Minister, I would like to know what is happening, because the first term of reference in our agreement that we have with you as AIC regarding the municipality of Ekurhuleni is that Matatiele will be incorporated into KwaZulu-Natal, but that has not yet happened. Then I want to check really what is actually happening, because the people of Matatiele had spoken. Can you just respond to their satisfaction? Because they are not oblivious of the promises that were made by you. Thank you very much.
We don't have the information, Khater. We don't have the information.
Honorable Mlenza, you are completely out of order. It's unacceptable what you're doing. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair, and thank you, Honorable Chaisa, including for the compliments. Let me start with the last point that you raised, because in essence, it would be remiss of me to speak here in Parliament on behalf of two parties that engaged between themselves. So I would really suggest, and in this regard, I might also not be the appropriate person, because as you might probably know, I only serve in a provincial structure, but my national leaders in the party are here, and I would encourage engagement between my national leaders and yourselves in this regard. I'm sure you'd accept. I'm sure you'd accept. I'm sure you'd accept, Honorable Chaisa, my limitations without disregarding your question. With regards to the point of the referendum, in fact, this point was raised previously with us, and I went on to research this matter of a referendum. Because in terms of the Constitution of the Republic, if you undertake a referendum, you can't hide the results. Now, the first thing we had to establish in the department is, was there a referendum? Because if there's a referendum, you are constitutionally obliged to release the results. The process is prescribed. So after various levels of engagement, the response was, to me at least, no, DM, you see, it was actually a survey. Now, it's not me that says so, it is the department, because we were asking a simple question. You cannot in law ignore the results of a referendum. So in essence...
Another break in the...
Honorable Chaisa, the Deputy Minister is responding to your question about the referendum, and he says it was a survey, so give him an opportunity to complete.
So thanks, Honorable Chair. I do think that notwithstanding the results, various processes of engaging with public views on this matter have been undertaken, and all of these should be brought together in arriving at a final determination of the decision, so that when we say we've tested people's views, we include the results of the survey, current engagements with communities, and so on. So that should continue to contribute to the final outcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Mutambi on the virtual platform.
Thank you so much, House Chair. Thank you so much, Deputy Minister, for the response. One would like to know, what is it that the Deputy Minister can share in respect of the country's municipal demarcation experience since the 2016 local government election? If the Deputy Minister in his answer can also reflect on whether the amalgamated municipalities are effectively fulfilling their mandate given their viability challenges, as well as on the step the Ministry of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs has taken to ensure that National Treasury allocates adequate resources to these municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and thank you very much to our Portfolio Committee Chair, the Honorable Mutambi. Firstly, I think that we should all welcome the decision of the Municipal Demarcation Board that said that for the purposes of the 2021 local government elections, they would not engage in a process of redetermining external boundaries. And this is important, at least on the basis of what the Demarcation Board says, because it should enable us to have a deeper understanding of some of the challenges that we have experienced after redetermination of municipal boundaries. And part of this result should enable us going forward to be able to mitigate some of the problems that we have experienced. And let me refer to some of the problems, at least, we have observed in the last cycle of the determination of outer boundaries of municipalities, particularly in relation to the amalgamation of municipalities. The first problem is that there was only 7 months between the period at which a determination was made for amalgamation and the actual implementation. So literally you are putting two institutions together in 7 months, and that has created problems. The second relates to the adequacy, at least as raised by local government itself, of the transition fund to deal with the problems that come with amalgamation. The third relates to the issue of discussions that take place in local labor forums when you get to a point at which you need to merge the administrations of two different municipalities, and therefore issues of salary parity. And in many instances, this has impacted negatively on the municipal ability to exercise its responsibility, because they are also resolving salary issues and resolutions are taken in local labor forums. Therefore, this suggests that as part of the overall review of the fiscal framework in relation to local government, we will also have to look at how the mergers of municipalities requires a review of the financial sustainability of those merged municipalities, including reviewing their revenue base.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Your time is now expired. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Opperman. The Honourable Opperman.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Deputy Minister, the Demarcation Board's Phase 4 regarding the ward delimitation process ended in August this year with the handover of the final wards to the IEC. What are the total number of new wards added to municipalities as a result of the demarcation process, and how will the elimination of plenary municipalities financially impact on local government?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
We have not at this point as a department, Honourable House Chair and Honourable Opperman, we have not at this point as a department done a comprehensive review of the numbers as added in terms of overall consolidated numbers in the provinces. So it would be difficult for me to give such indication, but I'm sure, Honourable Opperman, I can offer this in a meeting of the Portfolio Committee by just seeking that information from the Demarcations Board and providing it to the Honourable Member. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ngwezi.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Honourable Deputy Minister, the process of relocating, or rather reincorporating the Matatiele local municipality to KwaZulu-Natal under the Herigwara district municipality has been going on for a very long time, and much to the disadvantage of the community. It is common knowledge that the decision to relocate Matatiele was merely a political deal and had very little to do with the best interest of the community. The process was flawed and insufficient consultations with the community was conducted, and it resulted in a huge wasteful expenditure. And in fact, we're reminded of how the apartheid government actually wanted to hand over the people of Ingwavuma to the then Swaziland state. And in light of the corruption experienced in the local government, how are you going to ensure that this department protects the people of the area who have been disfranchised for far too long, Honorable Deputy Minister? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair and Honorable Ngwezi. The first point I think that's important to make is that the discussions around Matatiele did not start in 2016. In fact, these matters were raised before 2016 and proposals around constitutional amendments were raised before 2016. So to suggest that in fact the discussions taking place around constitutional amendments to provincial boundaries was as a result of 2016, I think would be somewhat disingenuous. With regards to the support to the municipality itself and the disenfranchisement of people, the Matatiele the municipality itself continues to be viewed in broad line of it as a municipality and is provided support as a municipality in its own right. So the determination of their allocation in particular districts should not necessarily imply that the respective provincial governments do not have an executive obligation to that municipality. Therefore, the people should not necessarily be disenfranchised by a decision in one way or another, and it certainly is not our intention to disenfranchise anyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. We will now give someone else in the executive an opportunity. Question number 442 has been asked by the Honorable Lesoma to the Minister of Public Service and Administration. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The reply is as follows. Given the cross-cutting nature of e-government, technology use to improve procurement in the public service is found in various institutions. The National Treasury has the Central Supplier Database. It is called CSD. This is a technology-based solution where suppliers are registered. They do self-registration, and their details are then verified against SARS and the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission to ensure they are compliant with the relevant laws as well as fit and proper to conduct business with government. Departments and institutions are therefore expected to choose suppliers that are on the CSD when they have procurement requirements. Information on directors' companies registered in the CSD is mapped against PESAL data to identify public servants registered as directors and suppliers doing business with government. Then there are other processes that they undergo. In the interest of time, I just want to jump to an additional point that going forward, what DPSA is currently engaging SITA to upgrade the current e-disclosure system and integrate it with government's basic accounting system. The idea is to ensure that payments done through BAS can be mapped against the actual public servants that would have received payments from government transactions. While the interventions are technology-based, they are part of ethics, integrity management interventions by DPSA and other public sector and institutions. And this is a very important development relevant to the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I now recognize the Honourable Lesoma, who will ask the first supplementary question.
Masibonge, masibulale mhlali ngaphambili walendlu mbuso. Kubalulekile ngendlela esimanga mhlonishwa amacingwane ukubambisana komnyango wakho kanye nomnyango wezokuhlela, ukuqapha kanye nokuhlola, DPME, kulomcimbi we-ICT onokudidiyeleka nokuhleleka kabusha. Ze sibone imiphumela eyamukelekayo emiphakathini yethu ngemisebenzi kahulumeni, ikakhulukazi kwi-PERSAL, ngoba phela lokhu kungasiza kakhulu ekukhucululeni nokuvikela ukuqashwa komuntu owone ngapha simbone esethi thushu ngapha komunye umnyango kahulumeni. Ingabe lo mbono unganceda mhlonishwa amacingwane? Sibonge kakhulu.
Honourable Minister.
Mhlonishwa Mayinalisoma, umbuzo wakho ubaluleke kakhulu. Impendulo yakhona ukuthi lo mbono oqhamuka nawo ungasiza kakhulu ukuvala noma ukuvimba phakathi kwezinye izinto uqhophololo okuyibona esikhala ngabo kakhulu kulelizwe njengamanje. Ngeke nje lokhu
Honourable Minister, let us just deal with this matter. There's an honourable member who has a microphone on the virtual platform who's disturbing proceedings. Please switch off your microphone. It's the Honourable Nombuzo Chabalala. Please continue, Honourable Minister.
Kubaluleke ke ukudlula lapho ekutheni kuvinjwe uqhophololo benziwa abasebenzi bakahulumeni phakathi kweminyango kuye kuyochaphazela nokuthi uma ngabe labasebenzi behamba phakathi kweyifear noma ama level kahulumeni ku national, provincial kuze kufika ku local kuvimbeke. Ingakho nje manje sibhizi ngokuthi sifinyelele kulomthetho oku chapter 10 we constitution othi akube khona i-public administration eyodwa ehlangene eNingizimu Afrika ukuze sikwazi ukuhlengahlengisa lezi zimo. Siyabonga.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Clerk.
Thank you, Chairperson. It's a pity that when you're on the virtual platform, you're disadvantaged in terms of translation. What steps are being taken, Minister, to modernize the government ICT procurement, and in particular the CETA Act, and reduce corruption in statewide ICT procurement, considering that the Act is now 23 years old and has not kept up with changes in technology trends, procurement trends, computing uses, and big data? I thank you.
Honourable Member, before I give the Honourable Minister an opportunity to respond, there is translation service available on the virtual platform. You must just check the bottom of your screen. There's an icon that says interpretation and click on English. Then you will get the necessary translation. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. We're sorry about that. With regard to your question, I will more or less go back to the same answer that was provided and to the Honourable Mayinalisoma, but now in answer to what you are saying. The first thing that I want to say and emphasize is that no ICT will prove to be waterproof in terms of its prevention of rampant or of corruption. What rather we need ICT, including ICT procurement, merely to make it easy to detect issues of corruption because of record making and its easiness in terms of accessibility, should investigations or need for investigations arise. The first thing that we need to do is to preach to the public, particularly in the public service space, but also in the private public space, that corruption is criminal. It is criminality which must be dealt with by law enforcement agencies, and it will be like that. But then, if there are means and ways that we can derive from using ICT in terms of procurement, that could have a better impact or increased impact on preventing corruption, then we do it. But I must say that, yes, there are indications that it is very helpful in terms of procurement, because as I have said in this response, that already we are benefiting some of the yields from these ICT links in terms of doing procurement and the ease with which those who want to procure access government services. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Komani on the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker and Chairperson. Minister, the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the foodlessness of our tender systems more than anything before. It is essentially a system used by the powerful and the connected to get richer from the resources that are needed for delivering services to the most marginalized. They even steal funds needed for the life-saving equipment. Why is it that the state cannot develop internal capacity to do most of the functions that the government needs to perform? Is there any strategic reason for trimming down the service provided by the state directly and outsourcing most of these to the private sector? Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I would say that I'm not necessarily aware that the state is outsourcing most of its work to the private sector, but I am aware that there are instances where a department or departments have done so, and therefore I would say that yes, as a second part of the response, this system that I was talking about in terms of procurement is actually the one, this CSD, that allows service providers directly to apply for services to government. But as I say, there is no need for us to dwell into something that is not happening. That is a lot of work that is being given to the private sector, except where it is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Kebekulu on the virtual platform.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ngibonge mhlonishwa Mthimane. Kulomkhankaso wokulwa nokugcogcoma kwabasebenzi besuka kuleminyango beya kulo masebonile kweminye. Akuhambi nje kodwa mhlonishwa, kepha ukhona la ofica khona nanokuthi ukhona ukuthi abasebenzi besebenzise ihlobo nabangani ekubeni bacoshe imisebenzi okanye amathenda kweminyango kahulumeni. Ngenza ngisibonelo noma mhlambe umnyango ungafikeleli khona angazi noma uyafikelela la khona ufica ukuthi amakhansela ngqo wona uqobo anamathenda nomasipala asebenza kuwona hlelona umnyango wakho olusebenzisayo ulandela ke nxa zonke ngaba amakhansela emkhandlweni ngaba ama-members provincial and national ngoba ubugebengu nobugovu uhlasele izwe lakithi akulazi ukukhulumeni lakhona singasebenzi khona ngokwethembeka isizwe kulezi insuku. Ngiyathokoza Mthonisi.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Yes, let me concur with you that there are instances where public servants, whether elected or unelected, would be heard to have used or said to have used their relatives who are outside public service to procure government services. And the name of that game where it exists is crime, exactly. As long as there is proof that there are such instances, these instances or such instances should be reported to law enforcement agencies, because there would be one link or the other down the line proving that indeed there was such closeness between a said public servant and then an outsider who is also a relative. That can be checked through movement of money or addresses that would have been used or any other means. As long as there is an allocation, that must be followed. But especially if there's proof, those who have proof would need to come forward so that the law enforcement agencies can do their job as effectively as possible. In fact, it doesn't have to stop only when such relations exist. Even when a public servant would be using a non-relative, as long as there is evidence that, in fact, it is the public servant himself or herself that would served by that interest, and that is and there's criminality there, and the law enforcement should take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Question number 441 has been asked by the Honourable Mkhweba to the Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair and Honourable Mkhweba. I fully concur that there's a need for intensification to the fight against gender-based violence and femicide to all the vulnerable people across our country. The department participated and assisted, even under COVID, with the development of guidelines for all ministers and deputy ministers that are deployed within the district development model. Ministers and deputy ministers working along with councillors, police, church leaders, and community-based organizations use the guidelines. This ensures ensures action to condemn gender-based violence and femicide to all communities to play their part. Men are now seen supporting the fight against gender-based violence and femicide. Communities to lead, change societal norms, and district-level coordinators are asked to play a key role and to drive, support local responses. Ministers are required to meet with all community policing forums at every district to assign them the responsibility to track, trace, and report gender-based violence and femicide in their communities daily. Over the last few days and weeks, I engaged with community-based organizations, church leaders, and faith-based organizations, taxi associations like Santago, to urge the stakeholders to do their part to tackle the gender-based violence and femicide within their sectors. Together with the Minister of Social Development, we spent a weekend in KwaZulu-Natal and had all faith-based organizations, in particular church leaders, to sign a pledge with us that they will play their part. These stakeholders have also committed to play their part, especially during the upcoming 16 days of activism campaign. As for South Africa, we comply to the 16 days activism because we signed on the UN on this matter. But as for the instruction from our president, it's 365 days of no violence against women and children. No violence, no gender-based violence against our vulnerable people. Coming back to ministers and deputy ministers deployed to the district development model, they are equipped with a checklist that also serve as a guideline in terms of things that they need to look for when they are doing their outreach work. This also includes advocating for the formations of multi-stakeholder community structures that include community policing forums where they do not exist. As rightly stated, communities are breeding place for all these ills. There is no gender-based violence and femicide that happens in the air or at national platform. It happens where our people live, in a neighborhood. The National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence ensures that such structures as community developing policing forums are strengthened to ensure functional communities within a community safety plan. The Minister of Police also serves on the Inter-Ministerial Committee, which I chair, for gender-based violence, and in all meetings of the gender-based violence and femicide, incidents against children, women, and members of the LGBTQIA+ are discussed. This department is working with the Premier, our department, all Premier's offices, for them to establish provincial and local government gender-based violence structures in line with the National Strategic Plan. Their purpose will be to closely monitor and immediately respond to stop any form of violence against women in their diversity, children and persons with disabilities. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mkhweba through the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I'm in the House.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. With regards to the 700,000 hectares of land, all land parcels, that is to be made available to the public, reference to the department's mandate of monitoring and evaluation. Will the department be monitoring and evaluating that women, youth, including considering LGBTQIA+, particularly those with disabilities, benefit from the land that will be made available to close gaps of triple challenges: inequalities, poverty, and unemployment? And is the department providing support to vulnerable groups in this regard? Thank you, House Chair and Honorable Minister. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chair and Honourable Member. The answer is yes. Luckily, I worked for a while in rural development, so I know what you are talking about. We are celebrating as women, youth, and persons with disabilities, and also LGBTQIA+, and the entire South Africa. But this is the moment for South African women to have a bite. Because actually, ownership of land is one thing, but the people who really work the land are the vulnerable people, and in particular, women from all the sectors that we had referred to. Ke bona ba lemang, ke bona ba tsebang ka temo, ka ntle le ba ba reng ke bona balemi. Basadi ke bona ba tsebang whether ke ba baswa or ke ba holofadi or ke ba kgethegileng, ke bona ba tsebang gore mobu, it's not about ownership, it's about access. But also access to finance, because it will help them do what they know best, take care of their communities. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable N.K. Sharif.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, your department spends around 64% of your adjusted annual budget on compensation of employees. In Q1, 24.6 million was spent, averaging around 8.2 million from April to June on salaries alone. In the committee meeting on the 13th of October, your DDG admitted that your department does not have the capacity to produce and implement any monitoring and evaluation frameworks, despite the overbloated workforce of too many high-ranking officials. Can the minister explain what the justification is? 2/3 of your budget on salaries, yet none
Yes. Honourable
capacitated to do.
Honourable Member, may I
form
request,
of
Honourable Member, may I just request the member from the EFF who are now on the platform to mute his microphone? You may ask the question, Honourable Member.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Can the minister explain what the justification of spending almost 2/3 of your budget on salaries, yet none of the officials in your department is capacitated to do any form of oversight or monitoring and evaluation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
What we do on daily basis, it's exactly that. To propagate for the emancipation of all these vulnerable groups. As for the budget, I think the Honourable Member knows also how small the budget is. So those who work where we work, assisted by the Department of DPME, know that we also provide weekly reports to the presidency, coordinated by the very same people that you are referring to. But let me go back to my original answer, because you know very well what we say in our meetings, that gender-based violence is not placed on the things you are raising, but it's based on bringing everybody, all political parties. It is not the responsibility of the department alone, but all departments of government, all members of parliament, all communities, because women are murdered by their loved ones in your backyard, in my backyard. Let's stop this carnage that the president refers to as a second pandemic. Women and young people and disabled people are not having to do a battle with coronavirus only. At the same time, under lockdown, they must also doing a battle with being molested by known and unknown people taking advantage of this scourge. So let's work together. Let's embrace each other, as President has twice addressed this August House on this matter. It is not a departmental matter. Fighting gender-based violence is a responsibility of all of us. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ngwenya. The Honourable Member is on the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will ask it on behalf of Honourable Gwenya, Honourable Tshwane.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Minister, we need to go beyond rhetoric in dealing with the scourge of gender-based violence in this country. I do feel that you don't quite know the depth of the problems we are facing as women in this country. Your office has done nothing in instances about the state sanctions violence against women who were forcefully sterilized. Have you had any interactions with the police minister to ensure that each police station have a gender-based violence unit that is empowered to deal with the sensitive nature of gender-based violence? If not, do you not see the necessity of having such a unit at police stations? And stop with this rhetoric of yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I think if we can politic if we like, but talking about whether I know what's happening about how women are murdered, it's another. The President, the Honourable President, had appointed an IMC that works together. So it's not only me in the space, but 6 members of cabinet, including police, who are represented in the social impact workstream, which is chaired by, even at the administration level, by a Deputy Director General responsible for social transformation and economic empowerment in the department. We have a new DG who's only 3 months in the department, but she's already asking, is this what you have been going through? This is an advocate, Maluleke, who joined us 3 months ago. So if she arrived and found us not knowing and not doing what we're supposed to be doing, she wouldn't be feeling the way she feels, because she learns from us. She learns from me. We have weekly meetings, we discuss this, we go to communities. We've been to police stations at night. We've been to Polokwane police station, we've been to Marble Hall with the Deputy Minister of Police. We've been to Engobo. We go where there's a call, but we cannot do it alone. This is not a rhetoric, it's a reality. Let's work together to stop the carnage.
Thank you. The last follow-up question will come from the Honorable Sukers.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable Minister, gender-based violence is a societal issue, family. What intervention programs or initiatives has the department championed at a community level to provide capacity to organizations dealing with vulnerable households to eradicate domestic violence? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. We, and Honourable Member, we continuously engage with community development organizations and NPOs and social development because we make use of their social workers to reach out. We've also planned and work with UN and women and the police and social workers, that they get extra capacitation to deal with the softer issues of these CSAs and NPOs and community policing fora, that they are equipped with softer skills that are able to engage on gender-based violence and femicide. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We now move to question 455, asked by the Honourable Malatsi to the Minister in the Presidency. The Honourable, the Minister.
Siyabonga kakhulu sihlalo. Honourable Member Malatsi has asked a question which we are now responding to. It is true that His Excellency President Ramaphosa could not meet the deadline to finalize and publish the performance agreements with cabinet ministers and members due to the change of priorities when South Africa was hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. All the arrangements were in place for ministers to sign their performance agreements by mid-March 2020. We were ready. On the 5th of March 2020, South Africa had its first COVID-19 infection, which necessitated the declaration of the state of national disaster 10 days later. On the 23rd of March 2020, the President of the Republic announced an escalation of the measures to combat COVID-19, including a 21-day lockdown with effect from the 26th March 2020, which was extended by another 2 weeks. The decisive measures were taken to save millions of South Africans from infections and save the lives and livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of people and prepare the health system to deal with the demand for health services as a result of the pandemic. The introduction of the above-mentioned measures required a review of budgets to partly fund the measures and resulted in the supplementary budget that was tabled in June by our Minister of Finance. The supplementary budget required departments to review their annual performance plans in line with their adjusted budgets. The focus on saving lives also required departments to perform functions that were not previously planned for. The additional functions also required the review of the APPs. In light of the supplementary budget and COVID-related functions, the DPME requested departments to submit revised APPs, and this was used to develop new ministerial performance agreements. It is therefore understandable that all the above processes needed to be concluded before the actual signing of performance agreements between the President and members of the Executive. On your second question, Honorable Malatsi, where you are asking whether the process has now started and when it will end, the President has indeed commenced with the signing of performance agreements, and we started this on the 16th of October. And we are finalizing the signing of the performance agreements with the President tomorrow, Friday, the 30th of October 2020. The President will then make pronouncements thereafter regarding this matter. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, the Honorable the Minister. Honorable Malatsi.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister Mthembu, for that response. And I think it's important to always go back to context so that we can understand where the question emanates from. During the budget debate, you had committed that these performance agreements would be finalized within 100 days of your budget speech. And while it is understandable that there was a revision of priorities as a result of the movement of budgets due to COVID-19, nothing stopped the work from continuing virtually as Parliament has been doing and as Cabinet has been doing to finalize those. But be that as it may, we're glad to hear that as of tomorrow, those performance agreements will be finalized. What is key, though, is when will they be published publicly so that we as members of Parliament and the public will be able to measure the performance of these ministers and know what they're being measured on. Because again, the commitment to publicize them wasn't made by us, it was made by the President. Thanks, Chair.
The Honorable the Minister.
Honorable, so you are correct. We made that commitment to publicize these performance agreements. They will be publicized after they are signed. That we can assure you. The President will put them on the website so that South Africans have access to these performance agreements. And indeed, as members of Parliament, we are then able to do your oversight. The reality, though, Ndate Malas, there are many things you can do virtually, many, including holding meetings, including engaging with portfolio committees. I've done so. But when it comes to signing performance agreements, you can't sign virtually. You need to sit down with the person that you are signing an agreement with and look the person in the eye. Indeed, and see the reaction of the person to the responsibilities that you are giving the person to. And that's what the performance agreements are done like that. You sit down with a person and you say, look the person in the eye and say, this is what you are expected to do. Do you agree that you will indeed perform as in terms of this performance agreement? Now, you needed that sit down with the President. And that sit down has happened, and it was able to happen, particularly when we came to level 1 in September, and we are quite happy that we are concluding these performance agreements long before our 5-year term is up. Our 5-year term, Mr. Malatsi, will be up in 2024. It is in this first year, notwithstanding COVID, notwithstanding the difficulties that we have had as a country, but we are concluding these performance agreements signing tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question will come from the Honorable Maluleke JB.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will be asking the Honorable Minister from Tshwane. Honorable Minister, it's true that COVID-19 had a negative impact not only to our country, but the whole world. Saving lives was the first priority of the President, hence the delay to the signing of the performance agreement with the executive. We, however, applaud the President to have started with the signing of the Ministerial Performance Agreement. This is commendable. Honourable Minister, do you think this will improve service delivery or performance by department? Ke a leboga modulasetulo.
Ra leboga. Tona.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maluleke. I truly believe that when there are responsibilities that are attached to each and every minister, when ministers know that from time to time, not only the department will be assessed, but they'll also be assessed in keeping with the performance agreements, I believe that all of us will pull up our socks. And when all of us pull up our socks, I think the people who will benefit the most are the people of South Africa. And people that will benefit from improved service delivery, because there will be monitoring of the work that we do as ministers by the relevant department and by the President himself. By the way, we now have what we call the Program of Action Week every time in October, where we make assessment of what targets has each and every department met, linked to the MTSF, linked to the NDP. Now we won't only be assessing the departments, but we'll also be assessing even the performance of ministers as it relates to their functions within these departments. There's no question that service delivery will indeed be the beneficiary to our people through this innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Ntlangwini, you are the next to ask the follow-up question.
Thank you very much, House Chair. And Minister, I hope you won't get warmed up again when I mentioned bank statements and President Cyril Ramaphosa in one sentence. Minister, the problem with government work is not so much about performance contracts, but it's about the lack of central coordination, which allow ministers to be law unto themselves. Mr. Tito Mboweni can go and rubbish other sovereign nations and employ discredited journalists and nothing will happen to him. Mr. Pravin can chase away every black executive from the state-owned enterprises and he does that with impunity. Mr. Mantashe can go bully the people of Koblobeni and nothing will happen to him. On what basis will these performance agreements be done if there's no central development team from government? Thank you.
Chairperson, on a point of order.
Yes, sir. I hope that the minister got the question before I come to you and Ma'am Tlangwini is done. Yes, thank you.
No, Chairperson, the member has just indicated that Minister Pravin Gordhan has expelled all the break executives in the parastatals. And then you must bring that motion through a substantive motion because it's casting aspersions to the character of the minister. Basically saying that he is racist.
Thank you very much. The motion is sustained. We know that if we have to say such things, it must come through a substantive motion, Honorable Ntlangwini. Let me warn those who switch on the mic and speak that I will give you a warning. You do it again, you will be removed from the platform. The Honorable the Minister.
Honorable Ntlangwini, the parliamentary rules and regulations allow all of us to bring any matters of substance, any matters of wrongdoing before this House for debate. So that indeed all of us, if we have done anything that is wrong, can be cancelled by this honorable House. Now, I can assure you that the colleagues you have made mention of Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni, is indeed a wonderful colleague and a wonderful minister who is doing wonderful work under difficult circumstances. Minister Pravin Gordhan is a good minister who has done under difficult circumstances a turnaround for many of our public entities that were just money where money was just looted left, right, and center. You have a minister that has then been able to confront the looting of public resources in public entities. Ubabu Mantashe is coming up with even better mechanism to ensure energy security in our country. You will have more other independent energy producers being able to come into the grid and give us more energy so that we don't have blackouts from time to time. Now, it's very unfortunate that you can't see these things, Honorable Mhlangwini. You can't. You just see anything that is negative. But these are colleagues that have done everything to ensure that our country is counted amongst the best in the world.
Thank you, Minister.
Notwithstanding the difficulties we are faced with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The last follow-up question.
On a point of order, Chair.
What's your point of order, Honorable Ntlangwini?
But really, the minister didn't even attempt to answer what I've asked him.
Thank you very much. So what do you expect?
Maybe he didn't understand it, or maybe I should repeat it, but he didn't even attempt.
Honorable Ntlangwini, I am not going to allow that. You know how the drill is. Mr. Ngumalo? The last follow-up. Siyathokoza Mhlonisha.
Angithokoze sihlalo. Ngiyaqhubeka sihlalo.
Qhuba baba.
Ngiyathokoza kakhulu. Ngithokoze kakhulu nakungqongqoshe ukuthi egcineni lama agreements sesiyavubelana ukuthi kufanele asayine ngoba i-commitment mayenziwa uhulumeni omkhulu ethi evikini elilandelayo ngoba wayebabesho mhla ka-14 July ku-2020 ukuthi ngeviki elilandelayo bazosayinisa ongqongqoshe bonke ama-performance agreement kodwa kuthi emva kwenyanga ezintathu kukhane ezofika futhi umhlonishwa ungqongqoshe uMvelasi athi kusasa bazowasayina lokho so siyafisa ukwazi njengeqembu le-IFP ukuthi azobuyekezwa after isikhathi singakanani lama agreements nongqongqoshe bazobhekwa kangakanani imisebenzi abayenzayo ngoba ngikholwa ukuthi ukube ayibe khona kuse-early lama performance mhlasimba abanye babo ngaba basekho kwi-cabinet ekhona nanokuthi ke sihlalo ama-sanctions azosetshenziswa mayisi-implementiwe under what time frame azosetshenziswa ngayo and kuzoqinisekiswa kanjani ukuthi lokho okubhaliwe kuma-performance agreement ongqongqoshe bayakwazi u-accounta kukho nathi njengomphakathi sikwazi ukubona ukuthi lokho okubhalwe kuma-performance agreement ilokho yini ukuze sikwazi ukubuyibuyekeza sonke as a collective angithokoze Mhlonishwa usihlalo
Sithokoze Mhlonishwa Ngqongqoshe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nomalo. These agreements between the President and ministers will come under review or assessment 6 monthly. So they'll be reviewed every half a year so that we are all on track, and where there are difficulties, we are able to act on those difficulties. I think this is a very welcome development in the history of our country. It will allow not only you as members of parliament, but also the entirety of the nation to know what are these agreements that have been signed between the president and each and every minister. You have asked another question, when will they be made public? I've already answered that question. Indeed, there is a commitment that immediately after they are signed, they will be made public. We are not starting tomorrow to sign these performance agreements. We have started already. We are concluding tomorrow. is the last day tomorrow of the signings. Many of the ministers have already signed, which shows our bona fides in taking forward the commitments that we have made, both as the African National Congress, but also as the government of the African National Congress. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. We proceed to question number 432, asked by the Honorable Mkalipi to the Minister of Culture. The Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair and Honorable Mkalipi. The target participation rate for the CWP is 250,000 that is during the current financial year. A total of 80% of this number are women spread across all local municipalities. In response to the emerging challenges of gender-based violence, not just emerging, in fact, escalating challenges of gender-based violence, the program has taken a decision to train 200,000 women participants in GBV to conduct advocacy work and provide guidance to GBV victims as to where they can access the necessary support or required help and counsel. With regard to resources, there were no additional resources that were provided since the program refocused existing participants' useful work activities to incorporate GBV issues. It is common practice to align useful work activities to emerging needs within communities. Therefore, this is covered under the existing wage budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mam Kalipi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, you always attend our committee meetings, and you know very well that as a committee we have raised much concern about this program in the committee. And we have been saying to the department, we are not happy about this program, about the reporting about this program. Even the minister herself told the committee that some of the things that are said are not taking place, especially in her municipality, when she was told that there's a project that is taking place. So it's news to us that there are 200,000 in this program that are for gender-based violence. So, Minister, can you get a breakdown of this? This is of these 200,000 women in the community works program, because we even said as a committee, the DDG that is responsible for this program must come back on the 27th of November to give a full report. There are so many ghosts about the project, let alone we have not been told about any woman who's participating in this program. Deputy Minister, let us not come here in Parliament and play about the motions of GPV. This is a very serious case. So therefore, me and you, who always attend COCTA Portfolio Committee, we know that this is not true. So therefore, Minister, can you do the honors and give us the details about who are these women who are participating in this program? Because there's none. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Siyabonga pendula emnyango bakokota. Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair and Honorable Mkalipi. There is a huge difference in numbers. I'm suggesting 80% women participants. Honorable Mkalipi suggests 0. Now, between 200,000 and 0, there's a huge discrepancy. I'm sure, Honorable Mkalipi, we can simply just not on the basis of anecdotes, but evidence, provide proof that there certainly are women participants. If you seek to contend the numbers, I'm sure you would want to increase it from at least 0 to at least a number that we can count. As to whether or not we are concerned about the performance of the program, we indeed are concerned about the performance of the program, and thus have resolved to revise the way in which the program is implemented And we have been reporting to the committee in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Matlo, nakokyale nam.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, what has the department done in strengthening the community work program, CWP, to ensure it improves the quality of life for people in marginalized economic areas by way of providing work experience and enhancing dignity? I thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Klo. As indicated earlier, the process of remodeling the community work program is currently underway with the intention of implementing at the beginning of the next financial year. Of course, that process on its own is complex, taking into account the number of NPOs involved in the process of implementation, but also the huge number of participants in the program. However, coming back to the point that the Honorable Klo is raising, the remodeling is intended to produce two primary objectives, and these are complementary. The first is to address the problems with regards to accountability and the control environment, particularly insofar as our relationship as a department with the implementing agents that are NPOs. And this has contributed largely to the audit outcomes, the negative audit outcomes of the department. So the remodeling would do that in the first instance. Secondly, it is intended to improve on the development outcomes of the program. In this regard, we would look at, amongst others, increasing work opportunities in the program and deploying more resources in areas of work opportunity, but also how these work opportunities impact on the quality of services that are provided by municipalities or in municipalities. And the last component would focus on training, because it is our intention to ensure that there is an exit program for those who participate, so that they are able to gain the appropriate skills to be able to get other jobs and to be able to initiate their own enterprises. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Agbarrelet Opperman, there's no geleentheid om die vraag te vra.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, the CWP program is riddled with corruption, mismanagement, and millions are being siphoned off with little value. The Minister herself publicly accepted that this program has serious problems and undertook to revise and redesign this program. Now, in the Northern Cape alone, more than 18 implementation agents are being investigated by the Hawks. So what steps are you taking to make sure that every rand are spent on the poor?
The Honorable the Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair and Honorable Opperman. I think that the issue of the challenges in the program we've already spoken about, so I'll get to the point of what steps are being taken. The first relates to a decision to withhold payment to implementing agents unless they are able to account for the resources that have been deployed to them. The second relates to ensuring that we audit and review the reports that are provided by the implementing agents. And this, I'm just making two examples of the steps taken. The results have been that we have seen an improvement in the quality of reports received, but also the regularity of reports that we receive on the program. Of course, a negative impact in this regard or unintended consequence has been that they are unable to pay their own employees, and we've seen some of them protesting at our offices. However, our emphasis remains that those who are allocated public resources, even as implementing agents, should be held to account, and that is exactly what we're doing to improve the accountability of the program and its performance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Mhlonishwa Ngwezi, ithuba ngelakho.
Siyathokoza Sihlalo. Sekela Ngqongqoshe, the Center for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation partnered with COGTA and CWP in 2016 to pilot an anti-violence prevention and intervention program in 4 CWP sites, that is Tembisa, Ivory Park, Erasmus and Orange Farm. The program's objectives were to drive and inform policy development as well as strengthen anti-violence campaigns within the CWP. The outcome will be for the program to be scaled up. Central to the program were the CWP participants whose knowledge of the communities, networks with the community members, and their own personal experience of violence as well as violence prevention would ensure that the interventions were tailored to each CWP site. Now the question is, has your department incorporated CWP participants from the 4 sites in Tembisa, Ivory Park, Erasmus and Orange Farm, where the program was test piloted in consultation with the Center for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation in 2016? If so, how were the CWP participants from these sites utilized? Thank you.
Babungwezi uzathi I'm unfair. You do a lot of preambles and then uthathi isikhathi esingasisakho. All other members, remember how many minutes you have to make your follow-up question. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Sifuna iqondo ungqongqoshe ayiqonde kahle.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and Honorable Ngwezi. As indicated, the program is currently under review and is being remodeled. And part of the review includes assessing the effectiveness and efficacy of all the pilot initiatives that have been undertaken and whether we can upscale this. This program that the Honorable Ngwezi is referring to constitutes part of the programs that we are reviewing for purposes of implementation and or upscaling. And it would constitute part of how we remodel the program. At this stage, I cannot give a definitive answer as to which of the programs, including the one on violence, would be continued under the new implementation model. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We move to question 444, again asked to the Minister of COGTA by the Honorable B. Swart. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Swart. One of the key founding principles of the district development model is to do away with silo planning, budgeting and implementation across the 3 spheres of government with the aim of achieving coherent service delivery and maximum development impact on people's lives. In order to deal with the challenges of poor integration and coordination to strengthen the implementation of the district development model, government is implementing the following, and I'll elaborate a bit later on each of these. The first is the development of the one plan. Secondly, the establishment of DTM political intergovernmental teams for each district. The third is the establishment of district development hubs. The fourth is the development of the regulations. Now, with regards to the one plan, this is an intergovernmental plan setting out long-term strategic framework to guide the investment and delivery in relation to a specific district or metropolitan space. The plan will express jointly agreed outcomes and commitments in an intergovernmental plan. So in essence, what we're talking about is not just a plan for the municipalities or a plan for the province in the district or the plan and programs of national in that district. It would be all parties coming together and partnering and making commitments on the one plan. The second is the establishment of political intergovernmental teams for each district. In this regard, the President has appointed district development model political champions to ensure coordination between government departments and spheres within the district. We have also seen provinces have all assigned members of their executive councils to also complement the ministers and deputy ministers as part of the political intergovernmental teams in the districts. And these would focus, amongst others, on response to COVID, response to gender-based violence and femicide, and economic recovery, as I said, amongst others. We have also witnessed the establishment of district development hubs, and in this regard, 2 of these hubs have been launched, and these are in the Waterberg district and in OR Tambo district, with the intention to launch a hub in eThekwini in November. I should indicate that the province of KwaZulu-Natal has also undertaken an initiative to continue establishing hubs where these have not been initiated yet by national government. So we should see these hubs as a mechanism for both coordination and implementation of the one plan amongst all the spheres of government. And lastly, with regards to the regulations, these regulations are intended to institutionalize the implementation of the district development model. Section 47(1)(b) of the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act mandates the minister to develop regulations that should frame the coordination and alignment of development priorities and objectives across the 3 spheres of government. The development of these regulations is currently underway and will culminate in the gazetting process within the current financial year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Swartz.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, has the Ministry of Culture been in contact with traditional leaders and other stakeholders with the objective of strengthening the implementation of the district development model, particularly in local communities? Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you. The Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Swartz. Traditional leaders and stakeholders are an integral part of the development of not just the one plans, but partners in the process of implementation. In fact, in many ways, we describe the district development model as South Africa's territorial governance model in terms of the new urban agenda, because it is not just about collaboration between spheres of government, but it is also about creating social compacts and partnerships with other institutions, including those of traditional leaders, business, civil society, women's organizations, youth organizations, religious leaders, and so on. As we have witnessed in the processes of engagement and in the launches that we've currently undertaken, these stakeholders have been integral in the process of the launch of the district development model and in the process of developing the one plan. We have so far finalized all 52 profiles for the district and are working towards the one plans for the respective districts as part of the process of implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The next follow-up question will be asked by the Honorable Mr. Brink.
Thanks very much, Chair. Deputy Minister, many aspects of this district development model remain shrouded in obscurity. For instance, questions such as, will a new municipality be bound to the one plan agreed to by its predecessor if the governing party is voted out of power? And how will district hubs be financed, given that there is no money for such things anywhere? There was meant to be this pilot phase in the 3 municipalities, and by pilot we understand the concept was going to be tested. But yet there's been no report released to Parliament or the public outlining the successes and failures of the pilot phase, so that we can better understand this before being rolled out. The question is, was the government's intention to roll out the district model regardless of whether the pilot phase was a success or a failure?
Thank you. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Brink. In fact, I'm trying to remember if it was Minister Mkhunu that said maybe we should not use the word pilot. Maybe we should say prototype. Because when you're talking about a prototype, you're not intending to review so that you don't implement. Is it correct for all of government to coordinate their efforts in a particular jurisdiction? I don't think there's an argument against that. So we can't be implementing something with the intention of not pursuing it if in fact it pursues the mandate of cooperative governance and intergovernmental relations in the country. Our view is that we learn as we walk the path. We currently have been learning in the path with the 3 districts. We're in the process of implementing the hubs. We now have 2 hubs and we're launching the 3rd hub in November. Indeed, it would be important for us to reprioritize the efforts of coordination and support to local government in line with the district development model. So in many ways, we're not looking for new money. We're looking at reprioritizing current resources deployed to municipal support and to intergovernmental relations so that you improve effectiveness and efficacy of intergovernmental relations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next follow-up question will be asked by the Honorable Motsepe. Mamtsepe.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson and the Minister. The fact of the matter is that municipalities, their functions and allocation of resources is still in conceived to change model and implement this so-called district development model without dealing with the problems of the financing municipal services is misguided. Majority of the municipalities do not have capacity to raise on revenue, even if law giving them those powers. Our people do not work and therefore cannot pay for municipal services. Very few municipalities can raise revenue, mainly municipalities that were center of apartheid economy. Does you agree with the Minister of Finance when he said the current allocation of revenue raised nationally is fine and does not need to be changed, and municipalities must continue to receive 10% of the revenue raised nationally? This is the question, okay. Does you as the Minister agree with the Minister of Finance when he said the current allocation of revenue raised nationally is fine and does not need to be changed, and municipalities must continue to receive 10% of the revenue raised nationally?
Do you agree, not does you agree?
Modise, that's a warning. You do it again, you are out of the platform. Continue, Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Motsepe. This has been raised for the 2nd time as to what the Minister of Finance said yesterday. And clearly our interpretation of his statement is not the same. At least my interpretation and understanding of the statement is that because local government does generate own revenue, a significant proportion of its revenue would come from own sources and complemented by national transfers. Does it mean that the Minister, by implication, says that the model should not be engaged continuously? My interpretation is certainly not that that was his intention. So the discussions, as I said earlier, between ourselves, National Treasury and other stakeholders are ongoing with regards to the optimal model of financing local government. And in fact, this would be a continuous discussion because the day that the discussion stopped, stops, then we would have stopped thinking, because we should apply our minds all the time to how we finance all spheres of government. Is the district development model therefore ill-conceived because of that conversation? Certainly it is not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Honorable Sheikh Imam Monsieur.
Thank you, House Chair Minister. Thank you very much for your responses then. I'm one of those that have repeatedly been calling for the district model to be implemented. But having said that, what I was calling for is to have a two-tier government, a national and a district model, not a now which appears to be something like a fourth tier of government. Because, I wanted a model like something like Canada, where they've had a national and they have a district model, and then you do away with all the other structures, and you'll be saving a lot of money. Now, Minister, the problem I have is that the Minister of Finance is talking about cutting on compensation to employees. He says, the amount we're spending is just not sustainable. Now, with the additional money that will be needed to get this model, district model, off the ground and to be effective, surely it's going to cost us a lot more money. And if that is the case, is the intention to implement a fourth tier of government, or is there an intention later on to reduce them to a two-tier government and then remove the local government and provincial structure? Please give us some guidance on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Sheikh Imam. The district development model is implemented in line with the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act that provides for mechanisms of coordination and collaboration between the different spheres of government. In terms of this act, as I referred to earlier, the Minister of COGTA is empowered to determine regulations that would govern intergovernmental relations. I'm saying this to emphasize, Honorable Sheikh Imam, that it is not the intention to create a second, third, or fourth tier or sphere of government. It is a mechanism of coordination in line with the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act and our mandate, at least as a Department of Cooperative Governance. The debate around other spheres of government, reducing them, increasing them, is a separate debate from this debate or this process of implementing the district development model. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. The next question is question 440, asked by the Honorable Singh to the Minister in the Presidency.
Enkosi Sihlalo. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is part of the NET Joints, which is a technical committee that gave technical support to the National Coronavirus Command Council, which is chaired by the President. Indeed, which enabled it to contribute to the monitoring of the implementation by government departments across the different clusters. So our sitting in that technical committee allows us to do this monitoring of the contribution by all departments to the fight against COVID-19. The department issued the first quarter COVID-19 monitoring report. The second quarter report is being processed. These quarter reports will culminate. Again, this report speaks to how have we been doing in the fight against COVID-19. What has been the efficacy of our interventions as government, as civil society, as the business community, all of us working together. These reports try to synthesize to what extent has our joint efforts assisted us to fight COVID-19. These quarterly reports will culminate in the publication of a consolidated country report, which will document our experience in dealing with the pandemic, including in how we've dealt with screening, testing, quarantine issues, and PPEs in the health-related matters, but also in the non-health measures, how as a country we have been able to adhere to the measures of wearing masks, social distancing, and washing our hands or sanitizing regularly. So we will produce that report. DPME continues to monitor the implementation of the medium-term strategic framework, which was severely affected by the COVID-19. It is our job to see to what extent the targets that are in the MTSF are being met by various departments. And the DPME coordinated the review of the annual performance plans of the national and provincial departments to take into account the budget adjustments that were introduced by the Minister of Finance in June 2020. The revised APPs also included new COVID-19 pandemic-related targets. So that speaks to what has been our role and in monitoring the work around COVID. The second question by Honorable Singh asked whether we have the capacity to do all these things we are expected to do. The department used existing human resource capacity and created multidisciplinary project teams to perform the monitoring of measures introduced. The department has also established partnerships with various institutions and experts within and outside of government, especially in the development of the integrated country report. We are speaking to the academia, we are speaking to health experts like Professor Karim, and indeed we are also speaking to institutions like Stats SA and research engines like CSR, HSI, Human Science Research Council, so that indeed when we produce such a report of what we have done as a country, that report also has inputs from all actors in the South African community. Thank you, Chair.
Mhlonishwa Singh.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Minister, for the response. Mr. Minister, my concern resides with, on the issue of whether the department itself, which has been created many, many years ago, has the internal capacity to critically analyze these reports that come through and really see whether the services that have been provided to society are efficient. Now, I'm saying this, Honourable Minister, with the background of having been involved in the birth of this particular department. And my view is that we are not seeing enough of the fruits of the department's mandate to generally monitor other national departments. You find many national departments, when they come up with their annual performance plans, they show that the performance targets were not met, yet the budget that was allocated to these items have been spent. So generally, I want to know, in connection with this COVID report, is it just a collection of reports that have been collated, or is there critical analysis? And in your meetings that you've had, did you recognize that there are vulnerable areas of our society, like in the rural areas, and issues in those areas that have been identified that need improvement, and have those been addressed to better serve these communities? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Just advise your service officers in the House not to come to the camera. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Singh or Honourable Singh is correct. We have to improve our capacity as the department that oversees the work of the whole of government. And we are indeed improving such capacity. Amongst other things that we are doing is to ensure that we have capacity to even monitor at the lowest level of government performance that Deputy Minister Tshwane has spoken to, district level. We are busy now even ensuring that our institutional structure takes into account these capacities that we need to monitor even at that level. Of course, you know, Honorable Singh, that there were many critical positions that we had not filled by the time we spoke to the committee. We have indeed filled those capacities and positions now in DPME. In fact, those departments or those responsibilities were quite important responsibilities because, amongst others, they included a number of DDG posts that were not filled around the area of monitoring and public monitoring. So we are quite confident that with improvement in the organogram and in the filling of posts in the department, we'll be able to do this work. You then ask another important area. Are we able to collect information, analyze it? Indeed, that's the capacity that we have been able to get now at the level of at the level of highest civil servants in the administration. But we are also not working alone. We are working together with those that will assist us to enhance this capacity of reading these reports and understanding the difficulties that are there within our communities. We are working with the Stats SA. Indeed, there are a number of professionals there within our state bodies. But also, as we have said, we are also working very closely with other bodies that might not necessarily reside within government, so that when we produce whatever reports as the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation, those reports indeed are validated by very competent and well-resourced bodies around research in our country. But of course, we agree with you. Whilst we have filled a number of positions, we can still do more with also getting the necessary capacity within the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation beyond the capacity that we have at this point in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mhlonishwa Mamkibi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, the COVID-19 outbreak revealed shortages of basic service deliveries, particularly in remote areas, where people did not have access to water and proper sanitation to keep in line with COVID-19 regulations. Is the department conducting continuous monitoring and evaluation assessments in areas that had water shortages or were affected by droughts? For example, in parts of the Eastern Cape and Northern Cape, to ensure basic service deliveries so that proper sanitation relative to COVID-19 regulations could be followed, especially in schools.
The point is well made, Honorable Member. The reality is that even now, during this pandemic, there are many areas of good performance that we should be proud of. There are many areas that ordinarily would not have had water, but using this pandemic, government was able to deliver such important resources to people who otherwise would not have had such resources. I think that the challenge will be, how do we sustain this provision in these areas where we came in as government because there was this pandemic? We should not, and it's a point that has been made by many of our frontline workers and frontline monitors. We do have frontline monitors as DPME in the same way as we also have people who work with departments throughout government at the lowest level that we call outcome facilitators. All these frontline workers are saying to us as the department and government as a whole, these benefits that we have been able to make under these difficult conditions, let's sustain them. One of those is provision of water. Of course, we could have done better, but we did the best we could by getting water to areas that did not have water because we needed to get water there to deal with this pandemic. Our colleagues are saying, in the front line, are saying, let's not then remove the mechanism we have employed in ensuring that people have got access to water. The other area that one can speak to, there are many government sites that we zero-rated and ensured that people, including all our learners, those at universities and everywhere else, will have access to these websites of government. Many of our people are saying, having zero-rated these websites and engines of knowledge, when COVID-19 is gone and dusted, we should continue with this zero rating of these sites.
Thank you.
A benefit that has accrued because of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The Honorable Maya Mokhoto.
Thank you, Chairperson. At the beginning of the pandemic, we saw you coordinating and convening government briefing on the pandemic. What lessons have you drawn from this experienced collaborative approach to tackling problems? And how will you use these lessons in tackling other pressing problems in this country, such as the resolution of the land question, the fight against gender-based violence, and the elimination of gangsterism in the Western Cape? Thank you, Chairperson.
Chair, what we have learned from COVID-19 is that when we work collaboratively, when we work together, there is absolutely nothing that can beat us. And you are correct, Honorable Makhoto, that we're able to hold regular briefings, keep the nation informed, even through the president, because we also created a structure. And that structure is called the National Coronavirus Command Council. It is through that structure, which did not only find resonance at a national level, it also went to our provinces, provincial coronavirus coordinating councils or command councils, and even to our districts. That made us to respond in the manner we responded. We think that these are lessons that we should, all of us agree, that are lessons that we must take forward. Collaborative work, not only at national level, but continuous collaborative work, even between the national, provinces, and local, but collaboration, because through the president, we're also able to bring together partners against coronavirus from business, from civil society, from labor, and from everybody, from every walk of life. So I agree that using these structures that we have created, we can do better, and we are seeing the structures that will drive the reconstruction, the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, following on these lessons that we have learned on structures that we had created to fight the pandemic. So I agree with you that even on the other matters that we have raised, indeed, if we can follow this collaboration and structures that we have created, structures that worked in collaboration between all spheres of government and all community structures, we will then do far, far better in attending to the issue that you have raised, including land dispossession, including gender-based violence, and any other difficulties and challenges that the country is faced with. It's when we work together that we can come victorious in fighting all the difficulties that our country is faced with.
Thank you. The last follow-up question will come from the Honorable, my Minister Swart.
Thank you, House Chair, for the promotion.
Minister in Religion.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that as well. I approach this as a minister to the Minister. Minister, thank you for your response. And as part of your oversight and monitoring evaluation of COVID-19, I'd also like to ask you about the health issues in general. And while every life lost is a tragedy, and as we know, as of today, there are over 19,100 people who have died of COVID-related sicknesses. Many of them have passed on through comorbidities. But against that, Honourable Minister, more than 200,000 people have died during this lockdown period of other diseases, not COVID-19 related, such as chronic heart disease, HIV/AIDS, TB. Many of these diseases are curable, yet patients could not access treatment due to the hard lockdown or could not take medication. And I'm sure you're aware of this. But does the Honourable Minister, in my question, not agree that this is also, or even a far greater tragedy? And given that any further lockdown could have an impact on those lives of people that could be cured but could not access medication, should a hard lockdown, which we initially all agreed upon, but now should a hard lockdown not be avoided at all costs? And will that be part of your report and evaluation? Thank you, Deputy Minister. Minister, my apologies.
Thank you, Minister.
Honourable Swart, I think as you give us figures, we must also agree that without the measures that we have put in place, indeed we could have had more deaths if we didn't put those measures in place. It's through those measures that out of the 719,000 people that have been affected, 719,000 of people that were affected, we have seen a recovery of over 648,000 people, over 90% recoveries. So that also shows the resilience of our health system, and we must thank all our nurses, our doctors, our assistant nurses, and all our health professionals for ensuring that through their commitment and dedication, we had a huge 90% recovery rate. While at the peak of the pandemic, we were having almost 13,000, 12,000 infections. We should be proud, Honourable Swart, that now, this time, we have reduced these everyday infections to between 1,500 and 2,000 infections. So these are things that all of us should be proud of. But that doesn't mean that we must then lose sight of the other diseases that are there. Indeed, as we attend, as we give all that we can to combating this deadly disease, there are other diseases that are out there, and I know for a fact that the Department of Health is doing everything they can so that we also give these diseases and people who suffer from other diseases outside of this the necessary health attention they need. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. the Honorable Minister. We move on. The Minister of Culture. Question 446 is directed to you by the Honorable Mr. Brink. Matatiele.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair and Honorable Brink.
You'll be saved by the bell, don't worry.
The Gauteng Provincial Executive submitted a notice on the dissolution of the City of Tshwane Metropolitan Municipal Council, which provided reasons and clear motivation for the intervention in the City of Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality in terms of Section 1391C of the Constitution. In line with the approval requirements prescribed in Section 1393 of the Constitution, the Minister concurred with the decision of the Gauteng Provincial Executive to intervene in the City of Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality based on the state of the city. Key to the decision to concur with the dissolution of the Tshwane Council were the interests of the people of Tshwane. There was already a collapse in governance, council failing to sit for prolonged periods, a threat to the budget and IDP processes being derailed, and thus directly affecting the provision of services for the people of Tshwane. The department is currently studying the current judgment of the Supreme Court of Appeal and are awaiting the decisions or outcome of the Constitutional Court judgment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the Honorable Deputy Minister. The Honorable Brink.
Thank you, Chair. As the Deputy Minister rightly says, the Minister does have a responsibility to apply her mind when a province makes the decision to disband a council, which the Constitution describes can only, or says can only happen in extraordinary circumstances. Now, the extraordinary thing about Tshwane when it was disbanded is that it had no area Eskom or Rand water debt, it had no audit disclaimers, and in fact, it had a financial recovery plan, a voluntary one, in place that saw a 2-grade credit upgrade in that city. Now, the question is, compared to a municipality in the same province like Mfuleni, audit disclaimers, going bust and bankrupt, owing Eskom money, assets being attached, Tshwane, in fact, looked much, much better, objectively speaking. But aside from that, the SA Local Government Association has told us that Gauteng failed to consult even them about the decision to dissolve it. They've said it, factually. And there has been no clear denial of that allegation. In light of this, Deputy Minister, did the Minister not fail in her obligation to apply her mind when she acquiesced to this decision to disband the Council, especially in light of the scathing judgments given by both the High Court and the Supreme Court of Appeal? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
I do think, and thank you very much, Honorable Brink and Honorable Chair, I do think that there is a need to have a much closer reading of the judgment and the reason for the judgment. But I'm sure it is not my duty to school you on matters of reviewing the actual judgment. Just to get to the point, was it important for government to make an intervention as done by the provincial government of Gauteng in a metropolitan municipality where governance had collapsed? In the capital city of the Republic, certainly it was. At least to the extent that the minister applies their mind to the issue at hand and making decisions on the issues at hand. The minister applied her mind and was objective in applying her mind. With regards to Mfuleni, Mfuleni is currently under 1391B, which is an intervention. So the intervention is taking place. Government has a duty. We apply our minds to the application that we receive from the municipality based on the evidence on the ground, and the evidence at that point suggested that it would be important for an intervention to be put in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the Honorable Deputy Minister. Umbuzo olandelwayo uzobuzwa nguMamkhize. Mam Chaba, Mhlonishwa.
Thank you, Chairperson and Honorable Deputy Minister. What support is the Department of COGTA giving to the current administration in ensuring provision of services to the people of Tshwane while they are waiting the Constitutional Court outcomes? Thank you very much, Chairperson and Deputy Minister.
Sithokoze Mhlonishwa. Sekela Ngqongqoshe.
Thank you very much. With Honorable Chaba's indulgence, I just want to make one point. The court actually made reference to political parties that walked out of council meetings. Now, if somebody was representing a political party that is consistent in the decisions that it wants to make, the Honorable Brink would acknowledge that even after the High Court decision and during the appeal, in the city of Johannesburg, the Democratic Alliance staged walkouts. So read the judgment and look at your own party and its own consistency in the application that it made to court. However, I was not responding to the Honorable Brink. I was responding to the Honorable Chaba. Honorable Chaba, the point about support has always been, as I indicated earlier, that we provide direct support to the provincial government as it undertakes its executive obligations. And this would include constant monitoring engagement with the provincial government, but also the availing of resources as and when these are required in the process of implementation. I will come back and still talk about the consistency of the DA as it works out of the city of Johannesburg consistently. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mhlomphehi Brink ka kopo tu kwala. The next question will be asked by R.N. Komani.
Speaker, the question will be taken by me.
Okay. Can you just say your name for the record?
Honorable Matatiele Suis.
Thank you, ma'am.
The city of Tshwane, and perhaps to an extent, the Nelson Mandela Metro, has been limping from one governance disaster to another. The fact that there is no party with a clear majority in these councils plays a huge role in this instability. Excluding those, what other factors have you found to have contributed to the instability of these municipalities, and what specific actions have you taken to restore some sense of normalcy and service delivery to these municipalities, and what are you going to do in future for other municipalities to ensure that such things do not happen in those municipalities? Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Sweth, it must be telling when a political party that put you into office says to you that you have gone from one governance crisis to another. Honorable Brink. It must be actually telling of their own evaluation of your performance in government in the metropolitan municipalities being referred to. What factors contributed to the challenges in the respective municipalities? Certainly, governance was a particularly important issue. Secondly, it related to processes of decision-making and, in certain instances, irregularities as experienced in the respective municipalities and service delivery challenges. What is being done, as I indicated in an earlier response, we are working very closely with National Treasury on all matters related to interventions in municipalities and ensuring that these are successful. With regards to Nelson Mandela Bay in particular, we've been in constant engagement with the provincial government about what needs to be done to restore normalcy to governance in Nelson Mandela Bay. And it still remains the reality that as we deal with Nelson Mandela Bay, we also need to ensure that governance is restored and that the tension that sometimes undermines the ability of council to make decisions is overcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Ntate Ngwezi, butsapotso rra.
Siyathokoza Sihlalo, Honorable Deputy Minister, the National Department supported the Gauteng Provincial Government's decision to dissolve the Municipal Council of the City of Tshwane, despite the fact that the North Gauteng High Court specifically held that the walking out of members during the council meetings, open court, rendered the city powerless, close quote. What are the future steps? What future steps will the minister, or rather the deputy minister and the department take to ensure the functionality of the city so that such hostages prevent situations like that? Thank you, Chair.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Ngwezi. Just for clarifying for the record, the Minister assented to Section 1391C in the City of Tshwane prior to the High Court decision. The High Court decision, therefore, came after and related to the decision that was made to dissolve the City of Tshwane. Therefore, it could not have been that, in fact, we disregarded the High Court decision. The second point is, what steps do we need to take? Certainly, I believe that we need to apply our minds collectively as this Parliament and the Executive on how we enable governance to continue even in environments of coalition governments. The evidence to date has suggested that we confront significant challenges as a result of coalition governments, particularly as we've experienced in the past few years. Now, we need to ensure that as we acknowledge that coalitions happen and will continue to happen, how do we not collapse governance in that process, as is being done by the Democratic Alliance in Johannesburg? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. I just want, before we adjourn, want to thank all the members of the executive who responded to these questions today and making our day a success. And thank you for availing yourself in the chamber to do your work. The time allocated for questions has expired. Outstanding replies received will be printed on Hansard. Thank you very much. The House is adjourned.
Long live the
Long live, Chairperson!